Time to talk a bit of royals, which is an excuse for us to have a chat to one of our favourite people that we met in London a few weeks ago. Patrick Jephson was the former private secretary to Princess Diana, but he's the best waistcoated man I know in the world, and he joins us now very early in the morning in Washington, D.C. How are you, great man?
Very good, Paul. Nice to be with you.
And you. Now, look, I've got to look. As soon as I saw something that was invoking Diana, you're the guy to talk to, right? So supposedly it has been inferred that Princess Diana would not have liked Meghan Markle, particularly for her role in taking Harry away from the family. Now, what I find interesting about this observation, wherever it happens to come from, is she left the family, right? She wanted out of the family. So the idea that, the family is the font of all awesomeness was not exactly Diana's view in the last couple of years. But what did you think of these people who want to tell us what Diana would have thought of a woman she never met?
Well, it's a great game, Paul, isn't it? Diana would have thought this. Diana would have said that. Diana would have done another thing. I'll tell you, Paul, I spoke with Princess Diana almost every day for almost 8 years. And even I couldn't predict with real confidence what she was going to think or say next. That was part of her charm. She was a wonderfully spontaneous person. She was enigmatic, and the one thing that was certain about Princess Diana was that you couldn't be certain. That was what kept her friends and supporters charmed and her critics off balance. So to weigh in all these years after her death and say she would or wouldn't have said or thought something is, I think, great fun, but there's just far too many what ifs.
Well, but also, isn't the ultimate thing here that because obviously her life ends in 1997, that there would have presumably been another 10 or 20 years worth of potential interviews. Now, in 1997 there weren't podcasts. In 1997 there weren't Netflix opportunities, all the rest of it here. So who knows what the story would have been as years rolled on for Diana. Now, I'm not comparing Diana to Meghan Markle here at all, but the assumption is, there was the Panorama interview and that was it. Well, yes, that's because her life ended, not because her willingness and want to talk about anything ended.
Yeah, I mean, the big investment that Diana had in the royal family after her Panorama interview in 1995 was her children. And I think particularly since this speculation arose from looking from the outside into Harry and Meghan's marriage, I think it really is wise of us to recognize that we don't understand necessarily the dynamics inside somebody else's marriage. We see what we think we see, but it's an aspect of Harry and Meghan I've noticed. We tend to project onto them pretty much whatever we want. We see what we want to see. I have my own views on Meghan, and I've written about them. But to ascribe any point of view to Harry's mother at this stage, I think it ignores the fact that Diana would have allowed her children to make their own decisions, their own choices. This is Harry's choice. He's responsible for his decisions, and he has to live with them.
But I sit in these two camps, right, where there's part of me that says I never want to bring up these two people ever again, but then there is such insatiable interest where any conversation about it, including the one we're going to be having right now, I have no doubt down here we'll have about 2 million people watching it because there is an insatiable interest. And what do you think drives that insatiable interest? Because there have been people that have, split from their family before, but this also was a person who was never going to be king. Conversely, was it because of, sort of bizarre kind of connections back to, Wallace Simpson? What do you think drives the Meghan obsession?
I think, Paul, it's another of those royal qualities that makes the distinction between royalty and celebrity. We're not talking about a couple of celebrities here. We're talking about members of the royal family, and therefore we are talking about all the qualities, the great issues, the principles, the history, the tradition that we associate with the royal family. It's something we have a legitimate stake in. We are all shareholders in the royal family, and therefore we're entitled to look closely at them, to speculate about them, and ultimately, if we have it in our charitable hearts, to give them the benefit of the doubt when they seem to be getting things wrong.
So speaking of, apparently the plan was to reconcile with the Queen sometime in 2023, but then, of course, matters meant that that wasn't able to happen. What do you think of that story?
Yeah, we can all write the plot as it goes ahead. One thing's for sure, we are probably going to be behind the curve. There will be things going on that we don't know about. And there will be a lot of other pressures, I think, that are impacting not just the royal establishment with the new king and his priorities. Our attention is going to turn more and more towards his coronation. But also, Harry and Meghan will have their agenda. They are launching more legal action against British newspapers. We don't know what their archwell activities are intended to lead to. And of course, we have the prospect of Prince Harry's memoirs and a Netflix docudrama. So there's lots more on the conveyor belt of Harry and Meghan stories, lots more on the royal stories conveyor belt too.
What do you reckon the chances are that King Charles will find a way to get himself to the United States before he gets himself to Australia?
I think you raise an important point there. Wherever King Charles goes for his first overseas tour is going to have great symbolic significance. I hope he chooses a realm. Australia, Canada, New Zealand, one of the realms, because it seems to me that the royal the royal family, and I include all of us in this, any of us who have an interest or a personal commitment or involvement to the crown, the realms and the Commonwealth should come first. Obviously, though, the king acts on the advice of his ministers, and if his ministers dictate that he should go to the United States or anywhere else, that's where he'll go.
Good stuff. Lovely to talk to you, Patrick. Keep looking $1 million. What a good-looking man you are. Thank you, sir.